to set up things. Giovanni is responsible for Team Kinguin, and Andreas is responsible for Penta Esports. Guys, so let's get straight, because everyone's here interested in making money, and you both are responsible for making sure that your players being paid when the month finishes. And what are the current sources of income for esport teams, the best sources? We all know the sponsorship deals, but what else?
Yeah, of course. I mean, actually, it is like a little miracle for esport teams to get revenue for substantial growth. And you said it, sponsorships are today a huge source. And the problem is for esport teams, I think, if you watch back in the last 10, 15 years, it was a grassroots industry, fast development, leagues popping up. Everybody had the great idea. People had visions and dreams. And the result today is that we still face an ecosystem which is like in a Wild West situation. So we have to see what also Chris said, that we need this kind of consolidation and also structure. Because if somebody asked me today what is esports, I would say, yeah, it's a mix of soccer, or in Europe we would say football, and wrestling, like the WWE, and of course also like box, because you have like different federations. Like we had here 6 different games. So to bring it to the point, today teams face a really tough environment, because nobody gives you something, nobody helps you. And the competition is pretty rough, because as Chris said, big investors jumping in, money gets raised, and the whole industry actually is raising money. But the question is how we have a solid and stable monetization for esport teams in the next 5 years. And that's always generate your own revenue by events. This is something what Kinguin does in a really great rate right now. And of course, sponsorship deals, merchandise sales, but this is still up to 5 years, I think, when it gets to a crucial point, let's say 20 or 30% of the annual revenue. And yeah, that's it for the first short answer.
Okay, Giovanni, in your opinion, the revenue stream that seems most promising in a few upcoming years, what would it be?
Well, as Andreas just said, in my opinion, one of the most underrated fields in the esport is merchandise. Teams are still stagnating on the jersey, on the classic jacket or the pants, but they don't go over like the sport does. So custom t-shirts, custom lifestyle, and subscription packages. And this is something that, in my opinion, esport teams has to go. This is, of course, in the thinking with plans in this case. We need to push the merchandise, and we need to give our customer a way to have not just purchasing just the jersey. And apart from the merchandise, something that is kind of a revolution in the past 2 years is the IP rights. IP rights in regards of the tournaments organizers. This is something that since the past 2 years we see in League of Legends, we saw it in Overwatch, we see that it's starting to rise into the Counter-Strike world, where tournament organizers should be able to share a little bit of their revenue profit with teams. Because as also was saying in an interview, the entertainment is made by the tournament organizer and the teams. If you would remove the teams, there would not be a sustainable entertainment.
Okay, because the actor who plays in the movie is their team. That's fair enough. Let's expand the money topic, because there are people who claim that esport players are overpaid. Do you agree, guys? Every month when you pay these people, do you agree?
Well, the biggest problem here is that if we see players like employees, every time their contract comes to an expiration, before signing, you discuss an increase of revenue. So that's the same with the players. What is becoming now the biggest problem is that players are shrinking the length of the contracts. We started with 4 years, then we moved to 2 years, and now the usual contracts are around 1 year. So every year we see the salary of the players raising, but the marketplace, of course, doesn't match this increase of salary.
What's your view?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because on one point, I give an example. There's somebody standing, a big guy. He's 55 years old. He's the manager of a European soccer team, let's say Bayern München. And this guy searches on the street and see a young, talented kid. His name is Max. Let's say he's 5 years old. And he speaks to Max and say, Max, I like how you play, let's say in this case soccer, come to Bayern München. What happened to Max is coming in the industry of sports with performance centers, structure, coaching, certificates, and a long history over decades of sports management and athlete development. And that's something what is the biggest issue if we ask about salaries. Of course, there's a market, there's a price. We have a demand, we have a request, we have big players coming in, and they say, okay, I have to pay 20,000 bucks a month per player. If I give 40, I have the best shot and I have a good position. But the issue is also, if we watch deeper in the details, is that a lot of these players are unexperienced. Not unexperienced as being professional players in the game, but everything beside, they don't know what to do.
They just know how to play.
They know how to play, but they're young. Look, it's like YouTubers. Oh my God, I got 5 million followers. Bang, I'm the big star. But then comes, fill out the balance sheet. Buy a car. Register your insurance. Oh my God, I can't do that. And that's something what is going deep through the whole structure of organizations, that we have sometimes this feeling like a kindergarten. I don't want to say too hard, but there's a lot of work to do for team owners, for team managers, people behind the industry. And on the one side you have this still not really lack of performance, and on the other side you have this huge demand of money and cash, and players say, look, I got to offer here for 6, I got to offer for 20, I don't know, my mother says A, my father says B. So there can be players be overpaid, but I think there's nobody overpaid since the market is allowing to. We have the Neymar story with $222 million as a just transaction fee. And esports will have this too. There will come money in the ecosystem, it will flow, it will go through, and in the end it will go from A to B to C to D and give more impact. But the thing is, the structures and this kind of knowledge transfer we have now in the next 4 or 5 years needs to be built up. And that's also the players, in my perspective, still not professional enough.
Okay.
Maybe overpaid, who knows?
You've compared the situation to a kindergarten. That means, guys, you are babysitters, unlucky. But never mind, maybe it's like a demanding but an amazing job because you are managing something that never existed before. Let's go to lineups, because Penta used to have an international lineup of Counter-Strike. Team Kinguin used to have a national team, 5 Polish guys, but removed 2 of them and hired 2 Portuguese. Does it mean that the mixed lineups, international lineups, are the future of esports?
That's hard to say. Of course, when you think it's easier to put together 5 guys who share the same language, the culture, the tradition, it's easier that their chemistry will work. Mixed players is always a huge problem, also in sport. But in esport, it's something that at the moment still few teams have. If we see, for example, in the Counter-Strike world, the most of the teams have national lineups. Yeah. But if we are looking into the League of Legends, you will see teams are mixed and nobody really rise any problem there. So I think this depends on the game itself. In the Counter-Strike, maybe the future will be mixed. That's still hard to say. This will depend on the development of the players. We see a huge influx from players from Sweden and Nordic countries, so it's easier to create teams in those based countries. But for example, as we saw in the League of Legends world, the players come from any kind of country, and there are mixed lineup, and they live without any problem.
Okay, Andreas, you had a mixed lineup before because you had to, or you just prefer to have an international team because it's easier to monetize it?
There are 3 answers to one question.
3 answers?
3 answers. The first answer is, yeah, if you're an esports team, you need to understand who is interested in what I'm doing. Of course, my fan base, people around the world, and everybody in the market, but most important is to have the sponsorships running. And to just answer about the international team, we saw a great development. The thing is that channels of players will grow when they play, when they have success, but the organization himself needs to do a lot for themselves in case of just relying on the players, than to say, okay, this is a team, they develop unique, they do their job, but I have to focus on my brand and my revenue and my partners. And that was one reason we said we stepped back from CSGO, because for us it was a high outcome and a less income. So it was a strategic, economical decision. And the other thing is also about the players, about the international lineups. We don't have the national system, the national, look, it's like we would say in Germany, there is a selected group of players in every nation, which is always top 10, top 15. But there is not much coming new. If we see in soccer, we have talents from different clubs coming up and raising, and I think this is something we need. And we sit here on the Polish ground, but I will sit maybe tomorrow on the German ground, and we even don't realize what great talents and players we have. We just don't have the resources and the structure to find them, select them, grow them, teach, educate them, and get them on the big stage.
Guys, this is a great topic worth to expand in the networking, but right now there is the red alert, so we are done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you, Andreas. Great to have you in Warsaw.